All right. Well, good morning, Rotary District 7770, and welcome to Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, December 14th. My name is Donald Hovis. I'm from the CWRAP Rotary Club in Myrtle Beach, and I'm your CWRAP host. We're pleased to be joined from Mountain Travel and Rescue. Going to talk to us about some ski lift rescues this morning, Myron Allen. Myron, we look forward to your presentation in a few minutes. But up first, some announcements. So in honor of our speaker from Mountain Travel Rescue talking about ski lifts, we want to know in the chat box your name, your Rotary Club, and have you ever been skiing, never been skiing, love snowboarding. In my case, I like going down the tubes, on the sides over there. I'm not a skier, I'm not a snowboarder, but I can do the tubing. That is pretty cool. So put that in the chat box when you introduce yourself with your name, your Rotary Club, and if you've been skiing or where you've been skiing, or just talk about skiing in your introduction. Your Public Image Committee brings you CWRAP, and joining us this morning is our Public Image Chair for Rotary District 7770 from the 5 Points Rotary Club in Columbia, Mary Gask. Now, one question, folks. I'm seeing one individual on my screen and it's not moving. Are you guys seeing the same thing? Can somebody give me a thumbs up? What are you? Okay. I'm only seeing Sid. You're like on charge here. I don't know what you're doing, but your picture is on and it's not going away. I don't know how we can get that away, but that's all I see is you and it hasn't moved. So curious of what we have going on here with Zoom this morning, but
Donald,
yes.
Click your speaker view and gallery view back and forth a couple times. See if that helps.
Okay, you're on there now, Lou. So, all right, we'll roll here and see what happens. I'm not sure what's going on here. Sorry about this, guys. But it shouldn't affect our screen share from our speaker. So, Myron, how about come off the mute at this time? Thanks for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
And now tell everybody where you are currently, how much snow you got on the ground. We all want to know. Okay.
Well, I'm not exactly where my background picture suggests that I am. I'm in Laramie, Wyoming. It's a town in southeastern Wyoming, about 2.5 hours north of Denver, Colorado. And I'm a member of the National Ski Patrol. We have snow on the ground here in Laramie. Just snowed the other day. We've had a pretty dry winter so far, but finally got some snow on the ground. And a fair amount of snow up in the mountains.
Well, excellent. I know you're going to have a presentation that's going to come up on the screen at this time, and you're going to kind of walk us through. Folks, if you have a question for Myron, please post that in the chat box. We'll get that answered at the end. Myron did send me over some questions. However, his PowerPoint is going to answer those questions. So, Myron, take it away.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share my screen and go into full screen mode with the PowerPoint, and we'll hope it works as well as it did when we tried it 5 minutes ago. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Well,
yes, sir. Go ahead.
Megan Mosinski, who was up until recently the executive director of the National Ski Patrol, asked if I would give a presentation on ski lift evacuation. And so I want to answer several questions. One is, what is the National Ski Patrol? Second, when do we evacuate ski lifts? And I hope I can persuade you not very often. But we have to train for it. So I'll talk a little bit about how we train for it. And then I'll talk about what customers can expect if you're ever involved in one, a lift evacuation, which is very unlikely. So first of all, what is the National Ski Patrol? It's a nonprofit organization founded in 1938. Our founder was Charles Minnow Dole, and he founded it after a backcountry accident near Stowe, Vermont, a very serious broken leg injury. And he decided it was time to establish a cadre of people who could render first aid in the backcountry. As I said, it was founded in 1938. The organization, which was pretty young at that time, was instrumental in establishing the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division, which you may have heard about. It was the U.S. Army's first division that was devoted to mountain operations. NSP's philosophy is that we render service to injured people at no cost to patients. Of course, sometimes people have injuries that are bad enough that they have to seek further medical attention, and that's kind of beyond our scope. We are one of the few organizations that has a federal congressional charter. Other organizations that have congressional charters include the American Red Cross and the Boy Scouts of America. A few organizations like that. We're quite proud of that. Our federal charter reads, "For the purpose of preventing accidents and rendering speedy assistance to individuals sustaining accidents." That's our mission in a nutshell. We have over 30,000 members. A lot of people don't know that 90% of us are volunteers. Most ski patrols serve alpine ski areas, meaning there's a ski lift involved, and we call that inbound skiing. And every alpine patroller has to practice lift evacuation at the start of every ski season. The National Ski Patrol also includes some other types of ski patrols: Nordic and backcountry ski patrols, search and rescue patrols, and mountain bike patrols that operate year-round. We spend a lot of time training every year. Everybody in the National Ski Patrol has to complete a course that we call Outdoor Emergency Care. It's got EMT level content with a special emphasis on outdoor related emergencies. It takes about 100 hours to complete, and we have to undergo annual refreshers. There are other curricula involved. Most patrollers pursue some types of other training. Mountain Travel and Rescue, I'm the National Program Director for Mountain Travel and Rescue. So that's one of our other disciplines. Avalanche, emergency management, and there are a few others. You can see some of the logos of these disciplines. Many ski patrollers not only pursue this additional training, but go through the process to become an instructor. Some instructors are instructors in several disciplines. So just to summarize what I have to say about the National Ski Patrol as an organization, ski patrollers rank among America's most dedicated and highly skilled volunteers. By dedicated, I mean lots of hours every year, lots of volunteer hours every year. One of the beautiful things about the National Ski Patrol is it has all kinds of members from all walks of life: small business owners, firefighters, nurses, librarians, physicians. We like having physicians on the ski patrol, engineers, public employees, restaurant workers, university professors, retirees, military officers, mountain guides, college students. So you get the idea. We have a kind of a broad swath of population in our ranks. And in these pictures that I've got here, the one on the left is some ski patrollers practicing the emergency management of an emergency on the slope. On the right is a picture that I took during ski lift evacuation training. This is the view that you can expect to see if you're in a chair and you have to be lowered out of it. The ski patroller on the ground is preparing the rope lowering system. So the second question I want to answer is, when do we evacuate lifts? And the short answer is, thankfully, rarely. We rarely have to actually lower people out of a chairlift. When we do, it's because an engine stalls and the lift technicians can't start it quickly, or when there's a mechanical problem, such as one of the cables that carries the chairs up the hill jumps out of its sheave, and so the lift becomes inoperable. The events are rare because the state and federal land management agencies who lease land to the ski areas have very stringent pre-season testing requirements. So the government really just insists, and most state regulations insist that ski areas test their lift equipment rigorously before the start of each season. And then every morning, ski patrollers ride and inspect every lift before the public can ride. So if you're at a ski area and you get out bright and early before the lifts are open, you may wonder why it is that you can't get on the lift even though it's running. And the answer is ski patrollers are riding the lifts, looking at every tower, looking at every sheave, seeing if there's anything that's doesn't appear to be in working order. So we have a motto, we are the first on and the last off every day. I want to take a look at this picture on the right. You can see a couple of ropes, a red one and a green one, going up over the cable and down to the controller in the chair. And so this is a picture that I took during lift evac practice. I'll come back in a minute to why there's two ropes, but I want you to take a look at up at the cable there. You can see a little tube that the ropes go through, and then you can also see that there's a barrier there that will prevent, namely the place where the chair attaches to the cable, and that's going to make it not so easy to move those ropes from this chair down to the next one down the hill. I hope everybody can see that in the picture. And I'll talk about that in a little bit too. So how do we train for this? Since we have to do it every year. Well, the first step one is ground school. We're on the ground and we make sure that we understand all of the knots that we have to use, all of the technology associated with ropes, what kinds of ropes we use, how to inspect them, mountaineering hardware, the hardware that we use to lower, and then we make sure everybody has good lowering and belaying skills. Then after ground school, we send people up on the lift, and every patroller gets lowered and then lowers another patroller out of the chair. As a matter of safety, you saw in the previous slide, every patroller gets lowered on two ropes, a main line and what we call a belay or a backup line. And I'll just mention, in a real lift evacuation, we don't use the backup line. So anybody got any guesses as to why we don't use a backup line in a real lift evacuation?
Because you get tangled up in it?
Not exactly. That could happen, but we train so that doesn't happen. The reason why we don't use a backup line in a real lift evacuation is that it adds to the time involved. And so our philosophy is that we will train so that we don't need a backup. And that way, when we have to do a real lift evacuation, we can get it done as quickly as possible, and people aren't left hanging in the chair, slowly becoming hypothermic, which is a big problem. It's hard. The whole problem gets harder if people are up there shivering so badly that they can't be lowered effectively. So we use two lines when we're practicing, because we have to do this every year as patrollers, and most people will never get lowered out of a chair. Most skiers will never get lowered out of a chair. In this picture, you can see the sort of the ground crew busy getting ready to lower somebody out of a chair. I'll just mention there's a mixture of professional and volunteer patrollers here. The woman on the right who's lowering the person out of the chair, her name is Leah. She weighs about 100 pounds, and she's a professional patroller. And so for some people, we need to have somebody else on the ground serving as an anchor. So you can see Leah has a rope tied to the patroller on the far left, who's anchoring her down in case she has to lower a patient that's much heavier than she is, which includes lots of people, actually. One of the aspects of ski lift evacuation is we have to climb the towers that carry the cables up the hills. So we have to do this to get the ropes draped over the cables. This requires OSHA-approved safety gear and practices. We need to have a bunch of ski patrollers who are trained and willing to do this, but we don't require every patroller to climb towers. Some people just have fear of heights, and it's just not a good idea to require them to climb the tower. Fortunately, ski patrollers tend to have lots of other interests like mountaineering and so forth, so there are plenty of people who are willing to train to climb the towers. So I want to talk a little bit about what a customer could expect if it was necessary to get evacuated from a ski lift. As I mentioned before, most skiers will never get lowered from a ski lift. People ski their entire lives. Avid skiers spend their entire lives, and very, very few of them ever have to get lowered from a ski lift. First order of business is to make sure that the lifts are in good operating condition. If you do ever have to get lowered from a ski lift, you may get very cold while you're waiting. So that's why we like to make sure we can do this efficiently so that people don't spend too much time up in the air with the wind howling and the temperatures below freezing. While you're in the chair, you'll receive clear instructions from a patroller on the ground. That's one thing we practice when we lower, is giving instructions in a way that keeps our customers safe and make sure that they can get onto the little chair that we send up and get strapped in without putting themselves at risk. You won't be lowered until the system is secure and you say you're ready. So we don't rush this process. We make sure that all the safety systems are in place and that the customer is ready to be lowered. Sometimes some people have no problem hopping out of the chair onto the rope, but sometimes people are a little bit anxious about that step of the operation. A patroller will ask you for your name, and so we'll take names of everybody that we lower out of a chair, and happy to discuss that as well later. But also, you'll receive help near the ground. This is important because a lot of people will have skis or a snowboard on, and they're coming down, hit the ground, and immediately they're on a slippery slope. So we have patrollers who help people near the ground get their footing and get their skis across the fall line, we call it, and that way they're stable and they won't fall over and they won't have an accident on the ground. right after you get on the ground and we take the ropes off, a patroller will assess your condition, and with a special focus on hypothermia. People get cold waiting up in a chair, and if you ever have to be lowered, we're going to check you out when you hit the ground just to make sure you're okay, and it's safe to let you ski down to the bottom. All of the patrollers involved will know what you've been through, and so you'll have some sympathetic folks on the ground when you get there. Well, that's a quick summary of what we do to get people out of a chairlift. Members of the National Ski Patrol save lives every winter. We rarely ever have to lower people out of a chair, but accidents do happen on the ground at ski areas, and some of them are serious. We're trained and ready to help people out when that happens. We love our work, volunteers and professionals alike. And if you have an interest in skiing, we welcome new members. Love to have people take our courses and join us on the slopes.
Well, excellent
with
presentation. Excellent presentation, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and unless people want me to leave the pictures up there, but I'll stop sharing my screen and see if people have questions.
So at this time, we'll ask for you to post questions in the chat box, please. We've got a few minutes here to where go ahead and post those questions. We'll get it answered for you. Let's see. What is your scariest rescue you have been involved in?
I sort of hate to talk about the worst problems because I don't want to scare people away from skiing. But about the worst thing that can happen is a skier hitting a tree at high speed. That's really the worst thing that can happen. And that ends up being scary because head injuries can be serious, and we rarely know how bad they are on the hill. Very difficult to tell how severe a head injury is on the hill. So those are, to me, those are scary accidents, just because of the possibilities are so bad.
Can you send blankets up to the skiers while they're waiting to be rescued?
In principle, we could, but in practice, if we've got ropes draped over the cable capable of sending a blanket up to a patient, we'd rather use that rope to lower the patient. So I think it would just add to the time involved if we were to try to send blankets up to patients. We want to use the ropes to get people out of the chair.
Are there enough local National Ski Patrol folks, or do you have to sometimes get called into other remote areas?
Well, most ski patrols that I know about, at least in the Rocky Mountain region, wish they had more members. Wish they had more volunteers, mainly because the weekend volunteers mostly serve on the weekends, and the weekends tend to be crowded. So we all wish we had more members, but the truth of the matter is, at least with my local Alpine Patrol, we have, on a typical Saturday, we have enough people to keep the slopes safe. It's just that we could use a few more hands on the hill. There are Nordic and backcountry and search and rescue ski patrols. There aren't many of those. I belong to one, and several of our local ski patrollers actually also serve on the county search and rescue team. So if there's an incident in the backcountry, a remote incident, we train to be able to respond to those as well. Those are complicated injuries. Somebody who's injured in the remote backcountry, that can be, well, it can be an overnight exercise, actually, deep in the backcountry. So
And
those are more challenging.
just to confirm, are you saying back country or bat country?
Oh, so the word I was using is back country, meaning the remote sort of wilderness or national forest lands,
Okay.
off in the mountains somewhere, not in a ski area.
Just wanted to make sure because it was coming across. It sounded like bat, like BAT. So I was,
Oh, sorry about that.
have you ever been in an avalanche?
I have never been in an avalanche that was deadly. My wife and I were climbing a mountain once, and it was late in the spring, and there was a soft snow. Well, you could call it an avalanche, but a mass of soft snow underneath us started moving, and we realized that we needed to get off it pretty quick, but it was not moving very fast. So I've not been in a what most people would think of as an avalanche. I'm an avalanche instructor for the National Ski Patrol, and at this point I've been teaching avalanche courses for so long that I would be very embarrassed to be in an avalanche, since I'm supposed to be teaching people how to stay safe and not get in one. So I've never been in one, hope to never be in one, hope to never have to rescue anybody who's in one.
Well, excellent. Last call for questions. If you have a question, please post it in the chat box. Last call. While we're waiting for those to be posted, if any are posted, let me do some announcements here, folks. So, number one, reminder: at the end of this week, Friday is our last CWRAP for 2020. And before I do any other announcements, let's go back and we'll finish your questions, Myron, and then I'll do the announcements. What is your favorite ski site?
That's a tough question. I will say I've skied a bunch of the commercial ski areas in Wyoming and Colorado and in Utah. So I'm pretty familiar with a bunch of those areas. I love many of them. But to be honest, my favorite place to ski is in the backcountry here, west of Laramie. There's a 12,000-foot mountain called Medicine Bow Peak. And around, you won't believe this, but starting around Memorial Day, it's possible to climb up that mountain and ski from the summit down to the base. And so that's a strenuous bit of climbing followed by several minutes worth of utter joy, and I love it. So that's probably my favorite place to ski is on Medicine Bow Peak, not inside any ski area.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us this morning, Myron. We greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, so some announcements. As we said, Friday is our last conversation with Rotary Action People for 2020. Coming up this week, it's on the front page of DACDB, but I'm going to read just a little snippet, and then I have a challenge for everyone on this call. Are you a veteran? On Wednesday, CWRAP, our speaker will be sharing his personal story. On April 10th, 2012, United States Army Staff Sergeant Travis Mills of the 82nd Airborne was critically injured on his third tour of duty in Afghanistan by an IED, while on patrol, losing portions of both legs and both arms. He is one of only 5 quadruple amputees from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan to survive his injuries. Travis Mills' keynote speech teaches, inspires, and motivates audiences nationwide to never give up and never quit, no matter the obstacle or circumstances. If you're on this call today and you're part of a Rotary Club, which we know you are, I want you to share this information about Travis Mills with every single person in your Rotary Club, folks. Travis fills auditoriums across the country, and we have him speaking to us right here on Wednesday. So the challenge is for us to have a huge Rotary District 7770 on Zoom on Wednesday at noon. The information is on the front page of DACDB. Information later today will be on the District 7770 Facebook page. You're going to get an email tomorrow and Wednesday reminding you. Forward that to people in your club. Forward it to your president. Have them send it out to the club. We want to show Travis a huge audience. And guys, we wouldn't be able to get Travis if it wasn't for Zoom. So see you on Wednesday at noon. Also, if you're into Christmas caroling, you want to be on Zoom as well on Thursday at 6 o'clock as the district joins the Eau Claire Rotary Club for some joyous Christmas caroling, sing-along, and good cheer. Thursday, 6 o'clock on Zoom. Both of these informations are on the front page of DACDB. Final thing, I'm wearing the Christmas jacket. That is a reminder, Friday, Christmas trivia and the Christmas party for the district. Wear your ugly sweater, jacket, t-shirt, hat, whatever you have, and come on and join us on Friday at 11 for some Christmas cheer and trivia. So with that being said, folks, I'll conclude with the Rotary four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a wonderful Monday, folks. We'll see you on Wednesday at noon. Remember, Travis Mills, Wednesday at noon. Have a great day, folks. Take care. Bye-bye. That's a wrap.